They were ready to hang a mother for stealing bread, 5 children watching as the rope swung in the wind, until one lonely rancher stepped out of the crowd. The noose creaked in a November wind over Dry Creek Square. Abby Hale stood barefoot on the planks, wrists tied, chin fixed. In a buckboard cage her 5 watched, Maggie wired tight, Ruth pale, Joe shaking, Becca owl-eyed, Sadie with her thumb. Folks pressed close. Judge Ephraim Dodd opened a paper. Abigail Hale. Theft of 1 loaf from Tully's Mercantile. Penalty, hanging. Reverend Amos Pike lifted a hand. Judge, the law, Reverend, Dodd said. Law keeps order. Abby said, my girls. They'll be placed, Dodd told the air. Sheriff Cobb watched, jaw set. A rider eased through the crowd, swung down, and climbed the steps. Canvas coat dusted, brim low, a scar lined his jaw. I'll settle the debt, he said, and I'll take responsibility for the woman and her children. Dodd snorted. This ain't an auction, Weatherby. No, sir, Cole said. It's a town. We can feed 5 mouths without a rope. Silence. A harness ring ticked. Reverend Pike said, mercy makes better law. Cobb glanced at faces, then Dodd. Folks'll remember. Dodd looked at Cole. You mean to house them? Cottonwood Ridge has room, Cole said. I'll sign what you need. Tully? Dodd asked. From the crowd, Hiram Tully called, bread's cheap for honest folk. Cole didn't look over. And for hungry children? No answer. Cobb cut the wrist rope. The noose came off, leaving a red ring like a brand. Abby's knees went loose. Cole's hand steadied her and fell away. Thank you, she said, plain as bread. Ma'am, he said. Cobb opened the cage. The girls flew to Abby, sleeves and tears and relief. She counted them by touch and breathed for the first time since dawn. They left the square. Some looked away. Some tipped hats. Reverend Pike walked with them to the edge. You'll need flour, he said. We'll manage, Abby said. Cole boosted the girls into his wagon, waited for Abby to accept his hand, then set the team moving. Dry Creek slid behind, false fronts fading to white. The road lifted into dark pines that stood like men who didn't bend. Cole drove quiet. At last, your husband, Eli, carried me off Gettysburg. I told him I'd look after his family. Abby watched the ghost of the trail. He never spoke of the war, only coughed and worked. Some things don't talk easy, Cole said. They topped a rise. A log house showed, smoke shouldering up, barns snug out of the wind. Not fancy, solid. It ain't much, Cole said, but it's warm. Warm will do, Abby said. Inside, heat wrapped them. Stew bubbled on a black stove. A toy horse waited like a kept promise. Maggie stood between Abby and the man. What do you want for this? She glanced at the raw ring on her mother's neck. Cole set his hat on a peg. To keep a promise. Maggie held his eyes, then stepped aside. They ate in quiet, spoons soft on tin. The bread was fresh. Abby broke hers, gave each plate a share, hands steady now. When the girls sagged with fullness, Cole showed them the rooms upstairs. 2 beds here, trundle there. Fix it how you like. At the landing, Abby touched a worn nick in a window seat, the kind a child leaves. Something moved in her chest she didn't name. Downstairs, Cole fed the fire. You're safe here, he said. Abby nodded. She knew safety out here was a word that could split like dry pine. But the stove ticked, the wind eased, and her girls were under a roof. Night gathered on Cottonwood Ridge. At sunup, her life had ended. Here, it began again. They came in from the cold like strays. Cole hung his coat, showed the pump, the woodbox, the pantry. Use what you need, he said. Only rule, stay off the north draw, old wells mean. Abby warmed her hands. We'll earn our keep. Wasn't a bargain? It is to me. Maggie mapped exits. Ruth found a cracked book. Joe traced a nick in the window seat. Becca listened to the fire. Sadie curled on the rug with the toy horse. Cole ladled stew, tore a heel of bread. Abby flinched. "Bread's free in this house," he said. She broke it in 6. "Beds are made," Cole said. "Blankets are clean. He stopped. "They were put up for young'uns." Abby eyed the banister, rubbed smooth by hands gone. "We're obliged." When the little ones slept, Maggie whispered, "Ma, we don't know him." "We know enough. He stood when Rope did," Abby said. "We'll be careful, not ungrateful." Cole lit a lamp, took a cedar sliver and a small knife. "Little one was scared," he said, shaving curls. "Bear might watch the dark for her." "You don't owe us toys," Abby said. "Don't owe, just can." They let the quiet do the talking. Stars were brittle over the ridge. The stove ticked like a watch. His knife found shape. Blunt nose, small ears, fur in shortcuts. He set the bear by Sadie's hand. Her fingers closed on it. "Thank you," Abby said, "for bread, roof." "Wasn't just bread out there," he said. "Law got ahead of sense. You knew Eli. He carried me off a field I had no business leaving. I told him I'd see to his own if I could." He thumbed a scar on the knife. "Took me longer than it should." "Men get lost," Abby said. "War takes time after it ends." He nodded. "Light comes early. I ride fence. Stay near the house till the thaw shows bad ground. We'll wash, sweep, mend. Don't strain. I don't break easy." Morning came thin and blue. Cole was gone. A note on the table in a square hand. Coffee ground. Bacon in the larder. "If you need cob, Rope's on the porch bell." A sack of cornmeal waited by the stove. Abby set water, stirred meal with salt and lard, poured Johnny cake till it hissed. Ruth read receipts from a grease-stained book. Maggie set plates, watching doors. Joe and Becca fed the stove, chatting at the bear. Sadie toddled, solemn as a judge. They ate hot and clean. After, Abby tied up her hair and opened windows for a breath of cold. She scrubbed, swept, beat rugs on the rail till dust gave up. Near noon, hooves crunched. Cole stepped in with frost on his beard and hay on his sleeve. He took in the shined floor, the stacked pans, girls' faces. "You didn't have to." "It's what I do," Abby said. "Keeps a woman standing." He set a small sack on the table. "Found these last week." 5 peppermint sticks clicked. Heads popped up like prairie hens. "Ain't much." "It's plenty," Abby said. Sadie licked hers like it might run. Cole ate with them, few words. When the plates were cleared, he said, "Y'all can use the yard and barn. Stay clear of the stud and the north draw." "Reckon we can mind a line," Abby said. Dusk, the house was quiet. Abby checked doors twice. Maggie laid the shotgun behind the stove, shells set neat. Ruth tucked the bear under Sadie's arm. From the bunk room came a rough whisper, sleep talk from a man with folded grief. One word, low as a prayer, "Jack." Abby lay awake, listening to wind and ticking iron, learning the house by sound. Names could wait. Work would make the place theirs. Morning put a thin shine on the floor. Abby boiled coffee, stitched 2 shirts from feed sacks, set beans to soak. A knock sounded. Widow Alma Crow stood in a dark shawl, eyes like tacks. "Heard you got spared the rope," she said. "I brought lard, willow bark, and a tongue that don't sugar. Keep your chin where you had it. If Hiram Tully comes sniffin', slam the door till his hat flies." "Thank you, ma'am," Abby said. "Square comes by inches." Alma checked Sadie's hands, Becca's boots, sent Joe to wash, measured Maggie with a seamstress eye. "You're the spine," she told the girl. "Spines bend, don't break." Then she left, and the room felt warmer. By noon, a big-shouldered man crossed the yard with an iron hook. Rufus Odell, blacksmith. "Weatherby said your kettle chain was short," he rumbled. I fixed it long. He hung the hook, tugged once. Any time you need nails or sense, ma'am, holler. I take pay in pie or patience. He handed Sadie a bent horseshoe polished clean. Luck's just iron with a job. We'll put it to work, Abby said. Near sundown the schoolmarm came, cheeks red from the walk. June Hartley, she said, I teach in the churchroom. She set 2 primers on the table. If your girls can come by spring thaw, I'll see they catch up. Reading keeps a mind free when a town don't. She shook Ruth's hand, then Maggie's. Bring questions. I like questions. Thank you, miss, Abby said. Sheriff Harlan Cobb rode up as light thinned. He touched his brim. Ma'am, Weatherby filed the paper. Judge signed. You and your brood are under his protection so long as he keeps it. He let his gaze run the room and found clean lines. Mind the well on the north draw. Posts are rotted. Ring the bell rope if strangers ride. We mind what we're told, Abby said. Good. Cobb paused. Town ain't all bad. It ain't all good neither. You holler. He left a sack of salt and 2 candles and didn't wait for thanks. Clouds stacked over Cottonwood Ridge. Abby let the girls take the barn path while she set the table. Becca came in smelling of horse and hay. The mare likes me, she said. She breathed on my cheek like a stove. Abby set bowls in a straight row. Cole came late, step-dragging. He saw the new hook, the primers, the horseshoe on a nail. Folks come by, Abby said. He nodded. Town remembers things worth remembering. They ate. Beans plain and good. Ruth read 1 page from a primer, careful and proud. Cole listened with his head down, a hidden smile in his beard. He mended a bridle strap while Abby darned a heel. The lamp held steady, warm. When the girls were stacked like puppies in quilts, Abby watched their chests rise even. She thought of the square and the rope and shut that door in her head. In the big room, Joe traced cuts in the window seat. Bird, she whispered. See, it's flying. Abby saw the small wings someone carved years ago. Hope caught in wood. Cole banked the fire. Weather shifts by morning, he said. Abby studied his face. You talk in your sleep, she said gentle. A name. He let the silence stand. Some things don't listen when you hush 'em, he said. Reckon so. Abby checked the latch, laid out shirts for morning, set beans for tomorrow, and tucked the horseshoe behind the door where iron could do its old work. Night settled without fuss. The ridge held still. Inside, the house felt like a thing beginning again. A tune folks almost remember and start to hum without thinking. Snow hadn't come, but the air bit like iron. Abby Hale stood across from Tully's mercantile counting a 3rd time. 6 cents. Not enough for yesterday's bread. Not enough for pride. Down the street their shack leaned into the wind. Maggie watched the store, jaw set. Ruth hushed Sadie. Joe and Becca poked at kindling as if supper might be hiding there. Abby pushed through the door. The bell made a thin sound. Hiram Tully looked up from his ledger. Mrs. Hale. I need a loaf, she said. Day old. I'll pay when washing comes in. Credits for men who haul freight, Tully said. Not for folks that let debts grow moss. He died working, Abby said. Paid till he coughed blood. Tully's smile had no teeth. Trade's a broad word. He tapped the ledger. You've other ways. Abby set the 6 cents on the counter. They were small as grit. That's what I have. Then you have air. He slid them back with the board's edge. Try the Reverend. He eats regular. We won't trouble the church, she said. He came around the counter, too close, coffee and stale peppermint on his breath. Back room's warm, bread's cheap there. Move, Mr. Tully. He laughed and stepped aside when the freight bell clanged. Suit yourself. Abby walked out empty. The sky over Dry Creek looked tin flat, On a shelf by the door, 2 loaves waited, brown as hope. She did not look around. She lifted one, eased it under her shawl, and walked. Across the street, a man slid into shadow. Cole Weatherby had taken the eve of the Boxcar Saloon, collar up. He saw the way Abby's shoulders squared after, not before. Hunger taking a bite out of law. He could have called. His voice stayed rusted. She cut a line for the shanty. Maggie met her halfway, reading the truth. Abby pulled the loaf out, tore it, past pieces quick as prayer. Steam softened their faces. For a blink, they were only children eating. That night the stove coughed more than burned. Abby boiled a bone from the butcher and soaked heel ends. The girls slept with full mouths and quiet hands. Abby sat with the ledger of her life. Rent, coal, thread, shoes, cough syrup, soap. The numbers lost every fight, but love. Up on Cottonwood Ridge, a lamp bobbed once, then steadied. Cole rode home slow, winter in his beard. The house was larger than a single man needs. He stabled his horse, set his rifle in its notch, and let the dark take its places. He could still hear Eliza on the stair, Jack in the yard. Memory did not soften, it sharpened him square. If they arrest her, I'll step forward, he said to the wall and to God. The words set like a post, tamped hard. Morning brought a dusting that didn't last. Abby took in washing, mended till her eyes burned, sold Eli's watch to Widow Crow for less than memory. Lem Tully sent a note by a yard boy. Back room still warm. Maggie fed it to the stove and watched it blacken. On the third day, Sheriff Harlan Cobb filled their door. 2 deputies behind. Mrs. Hale, he said, there's a charge. Abby wrapped her shawl, kissed each head once, and walked out with the law. The girl's eyes were the only rope she felt. On Main Street, Cole stepped from between 2 freight wagons, shaved clean, look set. Sheriff, he said, calm, I'll be at the square. He touched his brim to Abby. A breath returned to her chest. The sky hardened over Dry Creek. Winter at last put its hand on the town. Somewhere, a crow called once, then the street went still. Gray noon lay over Cottonwood Ridge. Abby turned collars at the table while the girls moved softly, learning the house. It wasn't empty now, it listened. Ruth, nose for paper, followed a camphor scent to the stair closet. Ma, there's a trunk. Abby set down her thread. Oak, hand-planed, brass dulled like old coins. On the lid, a careful cut, Eliza Weatherby. Ruth touched the letters as if they might warm. We'd best ask, Abby said. Cole came in wiping his hands. He saw the trunk and went still. We found it put away proper, Abby said. Didn't pry. He knelt, lifted the lid. Hinges complained, then settled. Eliza kept things tidy. Inside, books tied in twine, a folded shawl, tiny shoes saved past use, a Bible with a fern pressed flat. He laid each out gentle. He handed Ruth a thin green volume. Wordsworth. She could quote him, if you keep hands clean, borrow it. Yes, sir, Ruth said, cradling it like a loaf. Maggie watched his jaw. Abby saw it too, the set of a man taking a blow and refusing to sway. Those rooms upstairs, Abby said, meant for little feet. They were, Cole said. No self-pity, only fact. He closed the trunk and rose. Supper's coffee and beans till I can get a steer down. Snow's near. We'll make it stretch, Abby said. They kept the afternoon simple. Abby baked Johnny cake. Cole fixed a gate hasp. Becca named chickens. Joe traced the carved bird in the window seat, wings forever taking off. Near dusk, Cole took cedar and knife. Something for Joe. Shavings fell. A small horse found its legs. Eli told stories, Abby said, eyes on her stitch. He said paper made them quiet. Eli hauled me off a field, Cole said. I called him a fool. He laughed, said fools who carry friends don't think about sense till morning. That sounds like him, Abby said. They ate plain and warm. The house felt easier after. Maggie checked latches. Ruth stacked borrowed books, wiped her hands, read 3 lines. The poem walked like a creek. Cole listened with his eyes shut. When the little ones were down, Abby rinsed plates and left them to dry. Cole banked the fire, brought in a split for morning. "Thank you for trusting us," Abby said. He shook his head. "Eliza liked company. This place does too." He stepped to the barn. The door whispered shut. Ruth slid back to the window seat with the green book. She shifted and felt something hard under the cushion. She lifted it. A narrow board came free, revealing a hollow. Inside lay a leather journal the color of tobacco, brass clasp snapped long ago. "Ma," she breathed. Abby dried her hands and came. She brushed a thumb over the cover. The leather held a kept warmth. "We shouldn't read without leave," she said, though her heart ticked faster. "It was hid to be found by the right hands," Ruth said, sure as only a bookish child can be. Abby opened only the front. On the inner page, in a firm woman's hand, Eliza Weatherby. The ink had browned to tea. Beneath it, a date from 10 years back. Bootsteps crossed the porch. Abby closed the journal and set it on the table. "We'll show him by the fire," she said, steady now. Cole came in with barn cold on his coat. His eyes went to the table, then to Abby. "We found this in the window seat," she said, "hidden." He set his gloves down and stood while the stove ticked. He looked like a man reading weather. At last he nodded once. "All right," he said softly. "Let's see what Eliza meant us to know." They sat by the stove. Cole opened the book with both hands, as if it might bite. Eliza's script ran steady. Market lists, weather, a hymn. He turned until the ink turned urgent. "Malcolm Price came again," he read. "He wants money I do not have. Says he will take Jack if Cole keeps prying in the mill accounts. I sent a boy for Cole. If Price returns, I will hide Jack in the cellar and pray. The Lord see us." The line broke there. The last words shook. Ink pooled where a hand had trembled, then stopped. Cole kept looking as if a missing sentence might appear. He shut the book and held it to his chest. "I never found our boy's body," he said. "Roof fell. I told myself there was nothing left to find." Abby touched the leather. She wrote what she feared. Price threatened to take him. "Price was my partner," Cole said. "Eliza asked for civility. I gave him months. When figures soured, I told him I'd go to the marshal. 3 days later, the fire took my house." To me, he glanced at the window seat, at the neat slot where the book had slept. Maybe the fire was cover, not fate. Then Jack could be alive. The word scraped. "Denver first," Abby said. "That's where Price did business." "His brother had rooms on Blake Street," Cole answered. "If Malcolm ran, he ran to kin." He set the journal down like an oath. "I ride at first light." Abby poured coffee. "Blankets, bacon, cartridges, weather's mean between here and the Platte." "I've crossed worse," he said, but he took the list. He brought the Winchester from the pegs, cleared it, and showed Abby without fuss. "Gate here. Thumb the lever clean. Cheek on the wood. You point, not hope." He set 2 brass rounds on the table. "If a man knocks odd hours or uses a borrowed name, you ask twice and answer once." "I won't spook. I won't blink." He lifted his Colt, laid it in a drawer she could reach, tied the porch bell rope where it would carry. "Cobb may hear it on the ridge if wind's right. Reverend Pike drops by afternoons. Don't open to Hiram Tully unless you can smell his peppermint through the door." Ruth stood with the green book hugged close. "It's real, then?" "It is," Abby said. "Now we work." They worked until near midnight. Abby packing flour and salt, rolling socks, pinning a needle case into Cole's coat. Maggie sorting cartridges. Ruth copying Eliza's last page. Joe mending a mitten. Becca stacking kindling. Sadie asleep with the bear. Cole stepped out to walk the yard. Snow squeaked under his boots. A single hard star burned above the ridge. He came in smelling of night and horse, and the house felt steadier. Morning waited pale behind the pines, a thin coin on the frosted sky. So hush. At dawn, Abby handed him a poke of hardtack and a wrapped loaf. Bring the boy home if he wants to be found. If not, bring the truth. The truth is what we can carry, he said. He kissed each head, touched the doorframe like a man making terms with a place, and climbed to the seat. The team leaned into harness. He didn't look back until the turn. Then he lifted a hand. Fresh tracks cut 2 clean lines toward Denver and whatever was buried there. Abby watched until the trees took him. She went inside, checked the Winchester, and set the journal on the mantel where a soul could see it. The stove ticked. The bell rope hung ready. In the small hush before work, she sent up a plain prayer for a plain thing. A sun found and the past set where it can't bite. Cole left at first light, runners whispering on a skin of snow. He carried bacon, coffee, cartridges, Ruth's copy of Eliza's page, and a sweat-soft map. The sky was pewter. Pines stood like men with hats off. He had a road. By noon he took the Platte Cut and camped under a bank. Smokeless fire, bacon on a stick. He slept with the Winchester for a pillow and woke to his own blood going round. At dawn he moved again, ridge to river, each mile knocking rust off old skill. Back in Dry Creek, Abby ran the house like a widow runs a farm, measured spare, chores, lessons, then drills. If the porch creaks, you come to me, not the door. The bell rope hung coiled. The Winchester leaned where her hand could find it blind. On the 3rd day, Sheriff Cobb swung down. He noted the swept sill, the stacked wood, Maggie and Shadow with a shotgun. You aiming to scare folks or teach 'em? Both, Abby said. He set down a sack. Flour Sunday from the Reverend, salt now. If Weatherby sends word, I'll push it uphill. Snow's coming. That afternoon, a city coat slid into Dry Creek. He called himself Ellis Thompson, smiled with his teeth hidden, bought a round he didn't drink, and asked easy questions that weren't. How far to Cottonwood Ridge? Weatherby keep to himself? The woman, she got kin, the Hale girls, quiet or wild? Rufus Odell heard him and went to shoe a mule that didn't need shoeing. Miss Hartley crossed the street, saw the way Ellis checked his own smile in a dusty mirror, and told the Reverend the town had a draft in it. Marshal Whit Beauchamp rode in on the 5th day, badge dull from road use. He spoke once to Cobb, once to Tully, then climbed the ridge. Abby met him on the stoop with Maggie at her elbow. Marshal, ma'am. He tipped his hat to the small faces. There's a fellow asking after Weatherby, says he's Denver. His questions smell like varnish. What's he want? Depends who he's John, Whit said. With Tully, money. With Odell, rifles. With the schoolmarm, where girls walk in winter. His eyes stayed level. Men who change their want that fast, I keep. We don't open to strangers, Abby said. Good. He took in the bell rope, the woodpile, the pan. If he rides up, I'll be behind him inside a minute. Reckon we can last a minute, Maggie said. Whit looked at her, not smiling. You last as long as you have to. Night came. Abby read till the little ones' heads tipped. The stove hummed. Cold lay over the ridge like a sheet pulled tight. She sat with the journal, tracing Eliza's name as if a steady hand could anchor a loud world. Down in town, Ellis finished not drinking his drink and slipped to the telegraph. He wired 8 words to Denver, paid in gold, and walked out lighter. On the trail, Cole made windbreak at a burned cottonwood, stitched a seam, saved bacon grease for morning, and drew dates in the dirt. 3 days, he said to the dark. He had 3 days to move a boy. Near dawn, a freight wagon rattled past. Denver City, Cole called. Blake Street's mud, the driver said without stopping. Watch your pockets and your friends. Cole put the team in and felt the land declutch from ridge to country that didn't care. He didn't mind. Caring was his job this week. Back on the ridge, the bell rope moved once, then lay again. Abby stood, waited, breathed, and sat. She had stitched a new hem on her life in one afternoon. Now all she could do was wear it and see if it held. Snow heeled in from the west, a smear headed for a wall. By mid-afternoon, Abby latched shutters and banked the fire. Maggie checked the Winchester and set it in shadow of the stove. The bell rope hung straight as a morale. Hoofbeats came slow on the packed path. A rider swung down, brushed snow from a neat coat, and knocked. Abby stood to the side of the door, Maggie behind her. "Mrs. Hale?" The voice was city flat. "Ellis Thompson. Sheriff Cobb said you were keeping house for Mr. Weatherby. He sent me up to help you batten for the blow." "Doors barred," Abby said. "Say your piece there." "Fair." He showed empty hands. Young face, trimmed beard, eyes that missed little. "I served with a man named Eli Hale, Pennsylvania Volunteers. Knew him at Gettysburg. Wound marked him, left chest, just off the heart. He limped cold days after." Abby tasted iron. "Eli didn't brag." "Didn't have to," Ellis said. "He carried a man under fire, stubborn fool." His smile eased, then set. "May I step in out of this?" "Wind's not inside," Abby said. "What do you want?" "To look in on you and the young ones, ma'am. Sheriff's tied up in town. Reverend sent flour. Thought I could haul wood, check your well lid, bring in stock if the drift's cut deep." "Appreciate the offer. We're set." "Then take my card. I'm lodged at the hotel." He eased a pasteboard from an inner pocket, kept his hands where she could see them. She slid the chain, opened the width of the card, took it, and shut the door with a tidy click. Maggie read the small print. Ellis Thompson, Denver, CT. No trade listed. Abby tucked it behind the clock. Not a thing or a place, just a name and a city. They watched from the parlor window as he mounted. He rode like a man who'd learned in a yard, not on a range. Pretty, not tough. Toward dusk he came again without knocking. The bell rope trembled one soft note, then stillness. Abby stepped to the edge of the curtain. "Ma'am," Ellis called, voice easy. "One question, then I'll clear out. Has Mr. Weatherby mentioned his boy lately? Jack?" Abby felt Maggie stiffen. "Mr. Weatherby doesn't mention what hurts." "Fair enough." Ellis's breath smoked. He took off a glove, rubbed his thumb across his palm as if testing grit. "If Jack shows, tell him I'm looking. I have news he'll need." "What kind of news?" "The kind that saves a man time." He smiled without mirth. "Night to you." He rode off in no hurry. Abby slipped the chain back. He knew Eli's wound. "Could be gossip," Maggie said. "Cobb talks, Tully listens. He said Jack's name like it belonged to him." Maggie slid the Winchester out, set it where her hand could find it in the dark. "He'll come back." "Maybe," Abby said. "If he does, he'll meet iron." They ate light. The girls bedded down early, wind rising, house singing in the joints. Abby checked doors twice, then a third time for luck. Ruth set Eliza's journal on the mantel and laid a sprig of fern across it like a little flag. They sat by the stove in a low circle. Abby, Maggie, Ruth with the poem book, Joe and Becca with twined cats, Sadie asleep with her bear. Abby read a psalm in a steady voice. The wind hawked along the eaves. Near midnight the horses in the barn stamped and blew. Abby stood, lamp high, and felt the house listening with her. From far down the ridge, a single shot cracked clean as a nail driven home. Then nothing but snow and the bell rope trembling without a hand on it. Wind sawed at the eaves. Abby kept the lamp low and the Winchester close. The girls slept. Maggie watched the door. Hoofbeats slipped, thumped, stopped. A fist on wood. "Abby!" A raw voice gasped. "It's me!" She lifted the bar. Cole fell across the sill, coat slick with blood, snow swirling like smoke. Shot, he said. Trail ambush. I cut down the draw. His eyes found hers. I found the boy. He's alive. She pulled him to the big chair. Sliced cloth scrubbed the groove along his ribs. Through and through, she judged. Ruth, boil water. Joe, tear a strip. Becca, bark from Alma's tin. Maggie, lamp up. They worked. Abby washed, packed, bound tight, held until the shaking passed. Who? She asked. City coat, Cole said. Calls himself Ellis. Maggie's jaw set. He knocked here. Cole tried to rise. Abby pressed him back. Later. The horse, he said. He'll freeze to post. Abby looked to Maggie. Quicken back. She checked brass, lifted the rifle. If I yell, you run. Psst. They buttoned, wrapped, stepped into the white roar. The yard boiled with driven powder. The gelding stood blown and shaking. Maggie took his head and talked low. Abby scanned the black between barn and pines, cheek to wood. They made the stall, rubbed him dry, fed a fist of oats. Abby opened the barn door, a hand's breadth. The cabin window threw a square of honey on the drift. Between barn and house, nothing moved. Then a shadow folded where no tree stood. Go, she said. They ran bent into the gale. Halfway, a voice cut the wind. Evening, ma'am. Ellis stepped out of the white like a stage man, hat rim silvered, pistol low. He smiled with only the corners. Tell the girl to keep walking, he said. You and I will talk. Maggie didn't wait. She sprinted for the porch. Abby faced him. The storm pushed at her back. She didn't move. You put lead in a man who's carried enough, she said. Business, Ellis answered. You aim to take a boy that ain't yours. Where I'm from, paper makes kin, he said. Jack rides to meet your Weatherby. I'll meet Jack and explain who fed him and who ran. Jack can read a face. Maybe, he said. First story sticks, that's why I'm here. He angled the pistol. After you. Abby walked. Lamplight showed the rope's red ring faint on her throat. Ellis's eyes paused there. Dry Creek hangs mothers for bread, he said. The door cracked, chain tight. Maggie's eye at the gap. Ma, it's fine, Abby said even. Open slow. Ellis raised the pistol, not quite at her, not quite away. Inside, both. Mr. Weatherby and I have talk that can't freeze. Abby stepped in first, rifle low but set. Cole braced in the bedroom door, gray and hard. Bandage pinking. He'd found his Colt. Where's Jack? Ellis asked. Between you and me, Cole said. And I ain't moving. Ellis read the room. Girls, stove, door, bell rope, Abby's rifle, Cole's jaw. Then we're at the part where somebody makes a mistake. Make yours, Abby said. Wind leaned on the house till the rafters spoke. Outside, a horse stamped and went quiet. Ellis's pistol steadied. Start with the journal, he said softly. Eliza's. Put it on the table. Then we'll fetch the boy. Abby glanced at the mantel where the leather lay and didn't move. Ellis's finger found the curve of the trigger and rested there. Ruth stood frozen. Maggie's breath sawed. The stove ticked like a slow clock. The storm took a long breath, waiting to see who pulled first. Ellis smiled thin, pistol steady. Journal, table. Abby didn't blink. Put that iron down and I'll pour coffee. No coffee, paper. Cole's Colt stayed low. You shot me on the ridge. Business, Ellis said. Jack belongs with me. By theft, Abby said. By blood, Ellis snapped. Price, Cole said. You're Malcolm's get. Ellis dipped his chin. Names don't matter. Money does. If Jack binds to you, accounts open and men close. I won't let a mill hand ruin 10 years. Ruth stood at the mantel near the leather book. Maggie stared Ellis flat. Ellis edged right. Move from the door, girl. Maggie didn't. Cole said quiet, point that gun at my house one more second and I'll take the second you give. You can't clear leather in time, Ellis said. I don't have to. I'm already clear. A voice from the porch. Leave the woman alone. Ellis turned. Jack. A tall young man stood in the snow, rifle to his shoulder. Cole felt his chin in that face and a set of eyes. You talk with your betters, Ellis called. Get off that porch. I've had 10 years of your talk, the young man said. I'm done. Jack, Cole said. Sir, the young man answered. Ellis laughed short. You think he's yours for saying sir? He'll say it to any man who feeds him. He'll call a liar dead, Maggie said. Ellis snapped the pistol toward Abby. Watch me start. 2 shots cracked near as one. Ellis rocked back, red blooming, then eased to the floor. The pistol spun once. Smoke thinned. Abby held the Winchester. Cole's Colt stayed up. On the porch, the young man lowered the rifle. Abby slid the chain, pulled him in, shut the storm. Close, he was city-cut, but the mouth was Weatherby. Cole kept his feet. Jack. Name's John now, he said. They made it so, but I remember Jack. He glanced at Ellis. He taught me sums and the set of a tie. He also taught me fear. I unlearned that today. Did he harm you? Abby asked. Not with hands, John said. Worse ways. Cole swayed. Abby steadied him. John moved, quick to stand close. For a blink they were 3 making a brace. Maggie nudged Ellis's pistol, checked his pulse. Gone. Marshall, Abby said. Maggie, rope the bell. Ruth, boil water. Joe, Becca, blankets. They worked while the storm shouldered the house. Whit Beauchamp answered the bell out of the white, coat-caked. He took in the family and the dead. Story, he said. Price bloodshot Weatherby came to take the boy, Abby said. He drew first. 2 answered. Whit nodded once. He searched Ellis, found a card case with 2 names, Ellis Thompson, and under it, faint, Ellis Price. He pocketed them, covered the body. Keep him till morning, he said. Snow's a poor grave. He eyed John. You Weatherby? Yes, John said, by birth and choice. Then your feet belong under this roof, Whit said. I'll send Cobb at light. He left. The door drifted. They settled Ellis in the shed. The house breathed out. Abby poured coffee. Cole sat and shook once. John stood behind him, hands on the chair, unsure where to put the rest. You got your mother's steadiness, Cole said, and my stubborn, John's mouth tipped, so they tell me. He looked to Abby. Ma'am, you held a line he couldn't cross. Thank you. Eat, she said. Kitchen's the law. They ate in quiet. Outside, the ridge wore thin. Inside, father and son learned each other's breathing, and a house with old grief made room for new days. Indeed, at dawn the wind slacked, and the world wore white like bandage. Whit Beauchamp came with Sheriff Cobb on a sled. They looked at the shed, then at Abby's face. Cobb took statements like ledger lines. He drew, Abby said. We answered. John stood hat in hand. He raised on her, he added. I fired. Mr. Weatherby fired too. Cole nodded. Truth hung straight. Whit opened Eliza's journal at the last page. Price by threat, he read. Kidnapping fits. Denver's wanted him. He shut the book and slid it back. Keep that, Judge'll ask. They loaded Ellis under canvas. Road's bad, Cobb said, tipping his hat to the girls. He gave Maggie a look. Keep the chain set. When they left the house, exhaled. Cole's fever ran a mile and quit. Abby wiped his brow with willow bark Alma Crow had left. You held, Cole said. Took need, she answered. John stood awkward, a man hunting a place to set his life. Cole patted the chair across. Sit. Denver, John said. Books, counts, a wide street named for men I never met. He said you died. He said my mother ran. When I asked different, he made the room cold. You didn't run, Abby said. No. Cole's voice was sand. I went back till the roof made up my mind. They let that sit. The stove ticked like a slow clock. After dinner, John followed Maggie to the barn. Light was thin, air clean as a blade. He ran a hand down the gelding's neck. He carried you through weather. He carries what's given, Maggie said. You stayin'? If your mother allows. She'll allow work more than talk. I can swing a saw and set teeth. Then you can stay. He smiled, and it reached his eyes. Widow Alma came with broth and orders. Cold drink, argue later. Abby, keep it dry. Maggie, widen a boot. John Weatherby, fetch, don't hover. Reverend Pike brought a ham and 3 sentences of prayer that fit the room. June Hartley brought slates. Becca held up the bent horseshoe. We put it behind the door, she said. Luck's got work. Near dusk, Cobb returned. Tully's talking, he said. Says rope was too good for bread thieves. Says Weatherby shelters shooters. Abby met his eye. Tully can talk into a well. It'll answer him. Cobb's mouth twitched. Still, keep the chain on. Night fell quiet. Cole slept. Abby read Eliza's hand till the lamp thinned. John cleaned the rifle he'd carried here and set it back with care. He paused at the door. Pines stood like patient men. You're home if you want it, Abby said. I want it, he said. Days settled into work. Cole mended slow. John learned the ridge, how snow caves along the north draw, how the creek speaks when thaw inches. He helped Abby hang a new bell rope and reset the well cover. With Witt's say-so, he rode to town with Cobb and made a statement. Men read his face and nodded. On Sunday, they took the sled to church. Folks parted, then closed around them. Some shook hands. Some said, Glad of it, Reverend Pike said. We are kept in a hard land by small mercies. By noon, snow slipped off the lower rails. Blue you could breathe opened over Dry Creek. The house felt different, less a stop, more a start. That night, while the girls slept, Cole sat with John and a cedar stick. He carved a small bird and handed it over, rough but ready. Not perfect, he said. John turned it in his hands. It'll fly just the same. Abby watched them in the lamplight and let herself believe the worst of the storm had gone by. Stars blinked above the ridge. March loosened winter's jaw. Snow sank. The creek spoke. Cole moved easier, a hand to his ribs more from habit than hurt. John cut timber with Rufus Odell, finding the quiet talk of men who work. Cobb rode up with papers under his coat. Judge Dodd wants a word. Denver sent statements. Price is dead. We'll set the record straight. Abby put on her best dress, mended fine. She braided the girls, buttoned Sadie's boots, left bread cooling. Cole hitched the team. They bumped down through shining mud. Spring came quick. The courthouse smelled of ink. Dodd sat high. Whit Beauchamp leaned on a wall. Reverend Pike took a bench. Hiram Tully hovered, lip wet for trouble. Whit laid a packet on the table. Affidavits, bank ledgers. Malcolm Price stole, coerced guardianship, hid the boy under a false name. His son Ellis died drawing on a householder. Eliza's journal matches. Dodd thumbed the seal. Mr. Weatherby, your claim? Cole stood. Blood and vows. Eliza wrote what the fire hid. Dodd turned to John. Your wish? Carry his name, John said. Work his mill. Dodd signed twice. John Weatherby, you are. Tully snorted. And the woman? Still stole my bread. Abby looked at him. I paid what I owed. The town saw. The town ain't the law, Tully said. Whit's voice went flat. Sometimes it is when the law forgets what people are for. Dodd cleared his throat. Mrs. Hale, the sentence is set aside. I said it too hard. Dry Creek won't hang a mother for a loaf while I sit that chair. Alma Crow said, about time, and no one hushed her. Outside, Becca chased a chick and laughed, a sound not heard since Eli. Cole stood by Abby with his hat in his hands. Come up Saturday, Reverend Pike said. We'll hold a supper. Folks need a thing to point to. Too soon? Abby asked. Soon's when it sticks, he said. They drove home. The house knew their steps. Abby set the signed paper in Eliza's chest under the fern. "Let the living sit with the dead and teach it how to rest," she said. Supper was simple and hot. After, Cole stood by the mantel where the journal lay. He cleared his throat once. "I've got more rooms than one man needs," he said. "You and the girls fill them right. If there's a way to call this one house for good, I'd be obliged to try." Abby's hands stilled on a towel. The girls were ahush in the doorway. John studied the floor like a man before a door. "He won't open first." "Cole," she said soft, "I've buried a husband. I've worn rope. I'm skittish of vows," said Cold. "I don't want cold," he said. "I've got time." "Give me a season," she said. "Let the ridge turn green. If it still feels like ground, we'll speak to Reverend Pike." He nodded. Something eased. "A season, then." Later, lamps low, Maggie brought 2 coins. "These were Eli's," she said. "He kept them for luck and never spent them. You keep one. I'll hold the other." Cole took the dime like a sacrament. "Deal." Ruth wrote a neat line and tucked it in the journal. This day, John took back his name. The judge took back his hurry. The town remembered itself. Out the window, the ridge held one pale star. The house breathed like a tired man does when the doctor says, "You'll live, but mind yourself." Saturday would bring pies and talk and palms on backs. They were ready to be seen plain. A mother not hanged, a man who kept a promise late, a son who came home under his own power. Dry Creek could take the measure of that and keep it. Saturday came bright and cold, smoke standing straight. Sleds creaked up Cottonwood Ridge, bells talking ahead of folks, boughs wired to the porch rail, a plank table ran the yard like a new road. Dishes set down in a line, beans, pies, ham, coffee that could bite. Abby met each hand. Alma Crow ran the kitchen like a fort. Rufus set a lantern rack and tuned his fiddle by feel. Reverend Pike blessed the spread in 12 words and meant all 12. Sheriff Cobb and Marshal Witt stood easy at the gate, seen. John hauled wood and crocks. June Hartley brought slates for the young ones and a custard for luck. She said the dish needed steady hands. He'd mind it. Tully came late in a clean coat and a bad mood. He took the far side and looked for a place to lay spite. "Bread's dear," he said. "Men pay or towns go lean." Abby didn't bite. Witt did. "A town goes lean when it forgets its heart," the marshal said. "Eat or leave." Tully ate. Folks talked over him and the mean bled out tonight. After plates, Rufus lifted his bow. The tune started thin and warmed like a stove. Children kicked snow in patterns. Becca named them dances. Maggie leaned the rail, a scout at ease. Cole watched from the step, color back in his face. Abby stood beside him. The ridge held a blue so clear you could hear it. He spoke low. "I carried a question all winter." "I know," she said. "I aimed to wait till green showed. But a man can mistake waiting for hiding." "You ain't hid." He drew a small box from his pocket. Cedar rubbed smooth. Inside lay a ring, cedar band with a coin silver thread, bright as creek light. "If it's too much, I'll put it back and wait the season like we said." Abby looked at the ring, then at the girls spinning in rough shoes, then at John laughing with June. She took a breath you could see. "Cole," she said, "I don't want perfect. I want honest. I want mornings with coffee and doors that latch, a roof we hold together and a bell rope that brings help. I want a name for my girls that does not end at a rope mark. You have it if you take it. I will if the girls say yes with their eyes." He looked. They were already looking. Maggie steady, Ruth bright, Joe nodding too hard, Becca wide open, Sadie lifting the bear like a vote. John raised a hand and grinned. Abby smiled. "Then yes, but let's speak it to Reverend Pike after Easter. A promise first. A wedding when the ground's soft." Cole shut the box and held the thing as if it might fly. "A promise," he said. "I'll keep it where I keep breath." Rufus slid into a waltz. Reverend Pike bowed Abby out, then placed her palm in Cole's, stepped back, and let the tune carry. They moved careful, then sure, two people who learned weight and balance the hard way. Tully muttered, then left without followers. Alma passed coffee down the porch. Cobb laughed once, a rare sound. Night tamped down easy. Lanterns made halos in the frost. Folks drifted, bells thinning on the slope. The ridge settled like a quilt. On the porch, Cole set the cedar box on the rail. "After Easter," he said. "After Easter," Abby answered. He looked at her hand, then the sky. "You ever think of the ones not here?" "Every day," she said. "I think that's how they stay a little." He nodded. They stood in a quiet fit for prayer, and it wasn't sad. The house behind them breathed, a sound with a future. The wind lay down. Somewhere a fox stepped through new moonlight and did not hurry. Easter brought soft ground and clean light. The ridge wore April like a new shirt. Abby braided the girls, set Sadie's bare, and touched the faint ring at her throat. Not today. Reverend Pike stood under the porch eave, book in one hand. Folks gathered. Alma Crow, Rufus, June Hartley, Cobb, and Witt. John stood at Cole's side, chin Weatherby. "Ready?" Pike asked. "As rain," Abby said. Cole's voice was low. "I've got one good vow left. It's yours." Pike kept it plain. "Do you take and keep with mercy and work?" "I do," Cole said. "I do," Abby said. Pike tied them with 12 words. Alma dabbed at her eyes. The girls pressed in. Maggie's face loosened. Ruth slipped Eliza's fern into the house Bible. Joe and Becca counted steps to a future room. Sadie held up the carved bear. Pike blessed it, smiling. They ate at the plank. Coffee ran black. Talk turned easy. Tully came, found no purchase, and left. Cobb said nothing and kept the peace. Witt said he'd file the papers and let them sit. After, Cole and Abby walked the fence. Snow was gone from the north draw. The old well wore a new lid he and John had set. The meadow showed that tired green that means true spring is near. Abby tested the bell rope. Its fibers felt like promise. "You sure?" Cole asked. "I'm sure," she said. "Today belongs to the living." They went to the barn. John was planing boards. June counted nails and pretended not to stare. Maggie hovered until Abby nodded. Grown folks saw it and let the world turn. By supper time, the house smelled of beans and cedar and soap. Abby set plates, 6 for the girls, 1 for John, 2 at the head. She laid the cedar ring box in a drawer with needles and kept it there, where work lives. After eating, they sat by the stove. Cole carved. His knife found a new bird with open wings. He set it on the mantel beside the first. "Fly with company," he said. Abby opened Eliza's journal and read a hymn line. She wrote under it in a careful hand, "This house keeps faith. Names set straight. Debt paid with mercy." She closed the book and slid it in the chest under the fern. John came in late with sawdust in his hair. He poured coffee and stood by the door like a sentry finding he could sit. "June says the school needs a shelf," he said. "Then build 2, Cole answered. "1 for today, 1 for the next, you." John nodded. He looked at Abby. "You all right if I call you ma'am till the word comes easier?" "It'll come," she said. "Call me Abby when it does." Rufus dropped by with a fiddle tune and left a laugh. Alma sent a jar and 3 instructions by a boy. Cobb rode past, tipped 2 fingers, and vanished. Witt never showed. That was its own gift. Night came clean. Stars stood over cottonwood like nails in good timber. The bell rope hung straight. The wind behaved. Abby doused lamps, checked latches, and watched her family settle. She took Cole's hand. Scars spoke to scars. They said enough. He kissed her once, a working man's promise. "Tomorrow," he said. "Tomorrow," she answered. Down the hall, 5 girls slept in old rooms made new. On the porch, the horses breathed slow. In the shed, tools waited for hands at first light. The mill would run, the shelf would hold, the name on the gate would read Weatherby, and the town would get used to saying it soft. The ridge went quiet. No rope, no shots, no footsteps in storm, just a house on high ground, one name, and work in the morning. Amen to that. Right. And so the rope was cut, the house was mended, and a family found its name again. Out here on the frontier, mercy proves stronger than judgment, and a promise kept can outlive any storm. If this story settled something in your heart, I'd be glad to hear your thoughts down below, like neighbors swapping words by the fire.